Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Welcome to another live stream. So, price of silver coming under some significant pressure this morning. It's actually afternoon today, so I guess this morning the metals came under pressure. They're continuing to see a decline in the spot price of both gold and silver. We're going to talk about it in this live stream. Before we do that, I just want to get started by reading this post from my YouTube community page from 7 days ago. So this was from last Sunday. I wrote, so now that the smoke has cleared and appears the vast majority of Iran's drones and missiles were intercepted and not cause major damage, perhaps this attack was more bark than bite. Of course, I was writing this the day following the attacks that we saw via Iran, the missiles and drones. That being the case, we may actually see a pullback in oil, gold, and silver this week as the escalation that was being priced in by markets now turns out to not be so severe. The caveat here, of course, is that any major reprisals by Israel may invalidate the scenario I've laid out. So what do you think? Are the metals about to take a breather and drop, or are we about to see them take out new highs for the year? Now, looks like I was maybe a week early with this post, because what we're seeing today, I believe, is the kind of wind down of the premium that was being placed into the precious metals in the lead up to that attack. And then we saw this sort of nothing burger Israel reprisal earlier, or just at the end of last week. And now, as Monday has begun here, we see this big drop in the price of silver. So silver is down over 5% today. The price down to $27.13 at the time we are streaming this here, around 12:30 Eastern time. You can see this is a pretty big candle down to the bottom. Now, one thing you got to think of here is that, silver is a very volatile market. Gold is down as well, but in percentage terms, it's not as bad. Look, the question here, is this the beginning of a crash? Is it just a healthy correction in a bull market? And I'm not going to leave you in suspense. I think it's just a healthy correction to the downside here. If you notice, we zoom this out a little bit. There's this big consolidation pattern in the chart of silver that had been forming for about 4 years. And we saw a big breakout just a couple weeks ago from this pattern. Now, it's been a big rip. Silver almost got to $30. The close last week on Friday, actually a very notable level. It was the highest weekly close in silver in over a decade. It was at 28.66, I believe, or 28.67 that silver closed on Friday. If you want to find a higher weekly close than that, you got to go back to March of 2013. So what's going to happen from here? Well, if you look at this chart, this level here, about $26, this was the big resistance that silver kept butting up against. And that means that now that we've blown through that, it could very well be that silver falls down to about the $26.50, $26 level in the worst case. Now, if it blows through that, then we might have something to worry about here. But given that silver's run-up was so fast, it had become very overbought, there was this geopolitical tension being priced in, which now at least temporarily seems to be unwound. Well, I think that's why we're seeing the price fall today. And I see some people in the chat saying manipulation. I wanted to address that. Before we do that, let's just point out that days like today, typically, in my mind, are the days to be buying when the metals are low. Not financial advice, of course, just telling you where my head goes when I see that the price of silver has dropped 5% in a trading session. If you want to get some gold or silver, make sure you check out today's video sponsor, SD Bullion. Right now, they have this sale. Maple leaves, any quantity pricing, $2.79 over spot. Kilo bars, $1.19 over spot. If you want to grab some gold, they've got these Tudor Beast Yale of Beaufort gold coins, 1 ounce gold coin, very low premium, any quantity pricing. So look, if you want to stack today, I think that probably would be timing wise good. Yeah, the correction could go a little bit lower, of course, but maybe you were kicking yourself when you saw silver pushing $30 saying, wish I'd bought when it was lower. Well, now's your chance. That's just kind of how I view this. Now, maybe there's some manipulation going on here. I know everybody, their initial reaction when they see a drop is to just say it's the banks, it's the elites, it's the manipulators, whoever that might be. But, maybe that's the case. We will never know, of course, the truth. However, it's also very possible that you see silver rise to the highest weekly close in over a decade, and some traders choose to take profits, right? I mean, we can kind of apply Occam's razor here. What's the easier explanation? What's the simpler explanation? So I suspect this could just be some profit taking among paper positions, weak hands. And the fact that it's pulling back today, just an opportunity to, take advantage of low prices. But in the long run, I do think that the silver price is going to be taking out the $30 level and, much higher in the relatively near future. That's why I'll be looking at this as a buying opportunity. Also, you got to keep in mind, of course, when this occurred, when overnight the silver started to sell off, I check the channel and I have these comments, people pointing out, oh, gold and silver crashing now, like gleefully pointing that out to me. To me, it's music to my ears, when I see that silver's down 5%, I think, I'm going to snatch some more up. But if we look at the 6-month chart of silver, still up 18% over the past 6 months. So, I wouldn't get too pessimistic about the metals at this point. Of course, the real drivers of higher prices continue to be in effect. We've got the U.S. national debt now taking out $34.6 trillion, almost at $34.7, and we're going to be tacking on some new debt. Of course, all of the deficit spending is tacking on new debt to the tune of more than $2 trillion a year. But we also had our illustrious political elites meeting over the weekend to approve this new $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and other U.S. allies. So more weapons being purchased and distributed to our allies with borrowed money. This is being done by a government that has to borrow money just to avert government shutdown. So, they're broke, they're running the deficits, there's going to be more war ahead. That's why we're buying $95 billion worth of weapons. So that geopolitical risk premium that was being priced into the metals, I don't expect that to go away in the long term. It's just that, the salvos that we saw last weekend and the reprisal or the response, whatever you want to call it, the, tit for tat that we're witnessing between Iran and Israel, it's not going anywhere. It just happens that last week was not the initial phase of a large-scale regional war. Doesn't mean that one isn't coming, right? It just means that we've got that averted, and now we have the opportunity to prepare more, which is nice. That is a good thing, if you ask me. Also, you've got the 10-year yield. I wanted to examine this. Look at this. This is the 3-month chart of the 10-year yield. Up again today, slightly, but up over 4.6%. This is troubling, right? This is a huge problem for the federal government, who has to pay interest on the national debt, now over $1 trillion annually. It's a big problem for the regional banks, who are going to need a bailout, because every time the yields on the treasuries go up, the treasuries that are sitting on their balance sheets decline in value, the lower yielding treasuries. And look, none of the fundamentals here have really changed. Someone in the chat here, a grand scheme, says, silver is a bipolar precious metal lately. Well, here, listen, the deal with silver is that it is a volatile precious metal. That is the deal. It is a small market. It moves faster than gold to the upside and to the downside. And so, it's nice for trading. Silver is not for the faint of heart, let's say. It's not for those with limited risk tolerance. And look, if you want to get precious metals, but you don't want that roller coaster ride, then gold is probably the metal for you. But if you are okay with a little bit of additional risk and you want to see bigger moves in your metal investment or your metal stack, well, silver might be the way to go. That's how I look at it. And silver still is tremendously cheap relative to gold. We have to keep that in mind. We can take a look at the gold to silver ratio here on SD Bullion, and you can see that it's now 85.66. It was up over 90 recently, weeks ago, months ago. It's come down with the rally in the metals. However, today boosting back up at 85.66 is still very high on the gold to silver ratio. So look, when you see a pullback in the price of the precious metals, I just say thank you to whatever forces it is, whether it's manipulation, whether it's profit taking. It's a good opportunity to buy in. 5% down in one day. That's the kind of day I like to stack. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Stay safe and happy stacking, everybody. Don't let the bipolar nature of silver dissuade you from getting into hard assets. And I wouldn't let the roller coaster stress you out too much. I mean, this is pretty predictable that we would see this pullback. The run-up in the metals was very fast. It's probably going to resume at a similar speed, but nothing goes up in a straight line, right? There's always going to be pullbacks. In fact, it's a very healthy thing for the longevity of this bull market, and I expect we could see another day or two down. Silver could drop to 2650. Gold maybe down to about 2,200, but that would just be an even better buying opportunity, and soon we will be exceeding these prices because nothing has fundamentally changed. But again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Stay safe and happy stacking, everybody. Smart Silver.